So I just want to welcome everyone. I'm Cindy Finiseth with the Kentucky Horticulture Council, and this is our third night of the Direct Marketing Summit, and we are so happy to have you here with us. Just a little bit of housekeeping. This is webinar style, so not meeting style, so all of our attendees will just be no video, no microphone. So just interact with the panel through the Zoom. You can do either Q&A or you can do questions, comments in the chat box. And we'll be dropping some things in the chat, some links and different things like that. So you can open that up and see what's going on there. And we'll be monitoring those, and all those questions will get relayed to the speakers. If we don't get through everything, then we'll collect all those questions, work with the speakers, the panelists to get those answered, and then we'll get those posted on the meeting website afterwards. Everything is being recorded tonight, so if you want to go back and rewatch something, or if you hopefully nobody will get kicked off, but if it happens, you'll be able to go back and rewatch, catch anything that you missed. A link to all those recordings will be sent out next week to the email that you used to register. We are streaming to YouTube tonight, so if you want to hop off and hop on there, you're welcome to do that, but hopefully everything will go just fine here in the Zoom panel. At the end of tonight, we're going to drop a link into the chat for a quick survey, and we'd really appreciate you helping us grade us on our performance, let us know what we can do to make things better, and what we can do to help you in the future. So that's it for getting started. I know you want to get right on into hearing from the growers, so I'm going to turn it over to tonight's moderators. We have Fran McCall and Sharon Spencer, and Fran, I think you're kicking off, so it's all yours.
Thank you, Cindy, and welcome everyone this evening. It's going to be a great evening. I know I'm excited to hear from our growers that we have in our lineup tonight. Just a brief introduction to our hosts this evening. I'm Fran McCall. I work for Kentucky Farm Bureau Federation, and I'm the commodity specialist. I've been there for about 9 years, and I also coordinate the Certified Farm Market program. And we're in our 26th year of our program, and we're really excited to be partnering with the other partners to put this Direct Farm Market Summit on. And tonight we have several of our farm market members featured on our panel this evening, and we're really excited to hear from them. Sharon, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Sharon Spencer with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, and I work in the Direct Farm Marketing Division that does agritourism, farmers markets, CSAs, farm to fork. So real excited about being on here and also getting to showcase a lot of our producers that we've got. We've got some experts on here tonight that's going to talk and share their information. And so we're really excited about hearing. And Cindy, I want to give a shout out to Cindy and to Bethany and to Mackenzie. They have done absolutely a great job with this. I know there's been a few little issues on getting some connections. You're going to have that on any kind of Zoom, anything that you do. And so they have really been working hard on trying to get a lot of those resolved, but we're very excited. Always such a great honor to get to partner with the Hort Council and all the rest of our groups, and with Kentucky Farm Bureau and K-Card and all of our other sponsors as well. So glad to be a part of it and can't wait to hear from our producers.
Thanks, Sharon. And without further ado, we're going to start with an icebreaker poll. So if you wouldn't mind, just the question is tonight, what kind of products are you currently selling? So just click in there and you can select multiple options, and we'll hold our panel open for a couple minutes there. Select your answer, and then we'll show the survey results here. All right, you got another minute to get your choice in there, and then Cindy will show us our results. This is your 10-second warning. All right, Cindy, I think we're ready to close our poll. All right, looks like value-added products was our most popular, followed closely by produce. So we've got a lot of those producers on this evening. followed by meats, which that's great, Jim. A lot of people interested in proteins tonight. Then we have other, and followed by flowers. So great. How exciting. And we've got some people commenting in the chat that they're not selling yet, but they're thinking about it. So that's exciting, Sharon, too. We've got some opportunities for growth for direct marketing. So we'll kick it off with our producer panel. I'm going to introduce our panel members one at a time. And to start things off, we have Jeremy and Joanna Hinton from Hinton's Orchard. And they're based in Hodgenville, Kentucky. And I won't go into any more detail about their market because that's what they're going to share. So Jeremy and Joanna, the floor is yours. Do you want to click share your screen?
All right, thank you, Fran. I'm going to try to share screen here. All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for asking us to be part of the panel. We're excited about the conference. We've gotten lots of good stuff the last 2 nights. So looking forward to tonight. As Fran said, we are Jeremy and Joanna Hinton, Hinton's Orchard and Farm Market, and we're based in Hodgenville. Also have a second market in Elizabethtown. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this is our family. Our business is very much a family farming operation. And picture here in front of a beautiful crop of blooming peaches last spring, right before they all froze. So that's part of the fun of this business. But this is Joanna and I, along with our 3 kids. We've been in direct marketing for about 20 years. Started with a large garden and delivering some orders to local businesses, and really have just kind of grown from there. We leased an existing orchard in 2002, and that was our first venture into tree fruit business. Since that time, we've kind of been on a continual pattern of growth and expansion. Our t-shirt kind of tells the story. Our first several years of that shirt just had "How about them apples" on the back. And then after several years of that, we figured out that we needed to add a few more things to that. And so we had to redesign that shirt. Started out with just family, then we added 1 part-time employee, and all farm jobs for both of us. And coming up, and as I said, continue to grow in 2020. All of our families involved at some level. Even Joel at age 7 has got jobs that he does. Had one full-time field employee, 4 seasonal retail employees that work what we would call regular hours, not exactly full-time, but they do work 3 or 4 days a week for us. We have 3 H2A workers that do most of the field work, and then 6 to 8 part-time student helpers that will average 15 to 20 hours a week, helping out mostly with the retail.
This is our market building at the farm. We built this building in the spring of 2007. And at that time, the construction of it was supported in part by that Ag Development Fund program that was focused on agritourism. And so we were able to take advantage of a forgivable loan program there. This building, you don't see all of it from here, but it houses all of our retail operations at the farm, has a commercial kitchen, it has our grading area where we process not only apples, but also our vegetables that we grow. It houses our office and cold storage and some other dry storage. And then when we built this building, we actually also lived in it. So there's an apartment on the backside that we were in for about 7 years. After the 3rd kid, we ran out of room in that. It sits on 48 acres.
Joanna, I don't mean to interrupt, but they're having people are having trouble hearing you. Can you maybe get a little closer to your microphone?
Thank you,
Sorry to
Fran.
interrupt.
That's all right. This building and the core of our farm sits on 48 acres. We also own an additional 25 that adjoins and lease some additional property close to us.
So Elizabethtown has always been an important part of our business since we opened here at the farm. And in 2015, we got an opportunity to grow our business and establish a retail presence in Elizabethtown. The site that you see here was primarily a garden center business, and the owners were ready to retire. So we purchased their building in Elizabethtown and several greenhouses that they had on their property, on their farm, and moved those to our farm here in LaRue County. From the start, our vision was to kind of blend those two businesses together and grow the produce business in our Elizabethtown location and kind of make a blend of the business that they had started and the business that we had established here at the farm and develop it into from there. We did a major remodel there before we opened in 2016 inside of the building, and have made some changes on the way just about every year over
there. The third place that we retail items is through farmers markets. We belong to two different farmers markets, the LaRue County market where we live and the Hardin County market next door to us. They both are markets that we do one day a week for most of the summer, start in mid-June and wrap that up Labor Day weekend. The farmers markets were some of the best marketing that we did early on because it allowed us to not only move the produce that we were selling, it increased our customer base by attracting those folks to come to, at that time, the farm for either additional produce or for our fall activities. And then also, once we bought in and had a location in the Elizabethtown market, it was already sort of a built-in clientele that we had for that business and the produce that we had there. And instead of being there one day a week that people could access us, we're now there 7 days a week, part of the year.
there. So a couple more pictures from the orchard. For us, there's really not much time of the year when something's not growing. Obviously, this time of year things slow down a lot, but we have a lot of different things going on all year round, really. In total, we have about 1,800 trees with a combination of apples, peaches, and pears. And we also have about 100 blackberries. And so that's our perennial crops that we grow.
We start the year in the spring in the greenhouses primarily. The greenhouse operation started out as a way for us to expand the season and to bring people here in the spring, but it has grown. And in 2020, the flower and plant sales are going to total about 42% of the monetary sales that we make for the year. When you add in all the things that go along with plant sales, like soil and mulch and pots and those things, it comes close to being almost half of the dollars that we sold. That's skewed a little in 2020 because of some of the issues with our fall season and school tour groups, but nonetheless, it's a very important part of what we do. We grow in 3 heated greenhouses and have 2 additional ones that have supplemental heat when we need it. We've added another greenhouse this year. And in addition to the plants like these that you see that we have for retail sales, we grow all the vegetable plants that we grow here on the farm. We start everything from seed, with the exception of some of the seedless watermelon plants that we grow. In 2021, for our retail and our plants, flowers and vegetables together, we're starting about 100,000 plants in our greenhouses.
So our first real harvest in terms of produce is our strawberry crop. We have a little asparagus that we'll sell before that. Excuse me. But strawberries really are the first big main season for us. We switched over to plastic culture production system about 5 years ago, and it's worked out really well for us in terms of production. We like that system a lot better than the matted row. We've seen an increase in demand every year with strawberries, and I think we got tired of not being able to keep up. So this year we've doubled our strawberry production from what we did last year, and hoping that that'll take care of our lack of ability to meet the demand. Hopefully we can keep up this year. We do some U-pick in strawberries. We did not do that in 2020 just because of the concerns about COVID, but that's kind of our first opportunity to have folks out to the farm and spend some family time on the farm.
Summer brings a whole group of summer garden vegetables for us to harvest. Our kindergarten speech during field trips is that we grow 27 different things that you can eat and 3 that you don't. that's a little bit of, it's the funny way to say it, but we grow a lot of the staple things like tomatoes and peppers and corn that you see here in the picture, but we always try to have a few weird things as well, just to tempt people and to create conversation. The tomatillos that you see on the back end of this table in our Elizabethtown store are an example of that. Do a whole lot. What is that and how do you cook it? And so it's just a way that we engage with our customers.
So in the summertime, peaches are really the main attraction for us. We usually start picking peaches the last few days of June and run through most of August. We've got 20 different varieties of peaches, and most of the reason behind that is just to stretch the season out. Having those earlier and later maturing varieties lets us keep peaches in the market from the time that we start until we finish up there in late August. As I mentioned in the picture at the beginning, we lost our peach crop in 2020 and had to purchase. We're fortunate enough that we were able to bring peaches in from South Carolina and Georgia and keep that supply going, but was kind of a tough year on the tree fruit last year.
We figured out really early on that people love peaches. They also love melons, and so watermelons and cantaloupes have become a big part of our offering as well. One thing that we learned early on too was to shamelessly use your kids in pictures. And so you'll see these are two of our three kids. Just funny, on the left, it really is a big watermelon and a little boy, but his aunt thought she'd be funny and put the bigger boy on a little watermelon. So that's the part there. And then this other was this summer, and our daughter, she's almost 13, and we just like to embarrass her mostly. So she got the big watermelon smile. We do quite a bit of watermelon wholesale, and so that's a big part of what we do, but not all of those leave through our retail markets.
So as we move into fall, we transition quite a bit. We still keep several vegetables, but it's not the main focus like it is through the summertime. The focus of the shifts away from the peaches and more into apples. Have several varieties of apples in the store most all the time. And that's also the time of the year around Labor Day that we start to add in the fun stuff that we do for fall.
And field trips are a big part of that. As I said a little earlier, we did not get to have any field trips this year, but they are very important to us and have a lot of schools that come year after year. What we did in 2020 was that we recorded a video field trip and distributed that to our regular teachers, and also delivered a few pumpkins to the schools so that teachers that were in session could do things with their kids. The enclosed hayride wagon that you see here, we have two identical wagons, and they make us feel safe about the kids being on them, and they've kind of become a trademark for our hayrides.
The weekends in the fall are some of our busiest time of the year. Lots of folks coming out for you pick pumpkins. Joanne mentioned the two hayride wagons. Those are old cotton wagons that we've repurposed and added steps on the back, and they've worked out really well for our hayrides. We grow about 12 acres of pumpkins. Usually have a lot of fun with the seed catalogs trying to pick out different varieties. Usually end up somewhere around 60 different varieties of pumpkins and gourds and fall squash and things that will grow.
And then lots of things in our area too. Like a lot of fall activity farms, you see we do have a corn maze. We do a big straw pile. We see that in the past year, the swing set with slides on the side that's made from some own wood from an old barn here on the property. We do have live music each weekend, but we've tried to do some things that are sort of unique to us in the pictures here. Again, shamelessly promoting our using our kids, but in the middle is inside a small grain bin that was here on the property, and we put corn in those boxes like a sandbox. The kids love that. We also have a second bin that has play fruits and vegetables in it. And then down on the bottom, you'll see this little guy driving the tractor. It's what we kind of lovingly refer to as the dead tractor, but it doesn't run, but the kids climb on it and have a really great time. We added a lot of low touch options this year, which are something that we'll be excited to keep, but it encouraged us to do it just to keep things a little safer for people.
We do several events through the fall. We've always tried to focus those around one of our crops, whatever was in season. and also focus on families coming out to have a good time here on the farm. We have done a strawberry festival. We've tried to do some things through the summer. Some of those are a little tougher just because there's so much going on with families playing ball and doing those things, and it's hot in the summertime. And so fall has really been our focus for those kind of activities. We have an apple festival that kind of kicks off our fall season. We also do a weekend called Pumpkin Fest, and then the picture here is of our hot air balloon event. We started that several years ago, and it has really it's really grown into kind of our signature event and our biggest event of the year, which is good and bad. It's a big day for us, lots of fun, lots of work. But if we have difficulty with the weather, then it's kind of hard to handle that, and trying to reschedule or lose that weekend is difficult. So we usually will have about 1,500 people here on the farm that day for the hot air balloons.
We finished the year in the Christmas season. We do close on, we're open until December 23rd. So just before Christmas, we do pre-cut Christmas trees at our Elizabethtown store primarily, and then do fruit baskets and baskets that are mixed with baked goods and Kentucky cheese and fresh peanut butter, those kind of things. We have a solid group of corporate clients, and then it grows a little bit every year as to the individual baskets that we sell.
As we mentioned earlier, we have a commercial kitchen in our market building here on the farm. It's a segment of our business that continues to grow. Lots of different things, kind of again built around the crops that are in season. And just an example here of some fresh pies and caramel apples, a couple of our most popular fall kitchen items.
We've also collected a group of staples that we keep all year round. The slushy machine is very popular, particularly in the summer and on our hot fall days. We make turnovers throughout the year and change the fruit depending on what we're doing. We do utilize our products for that, for all the things that we make in the kitchen. And then soft serve ice cream is probably the most popular. We have 4 different flavors that we do, and also have vanilla always available. A lot of old men that come just to get ice cream through the year.
Okay. I know we're running a little bit over time, so I apologize. Joanne will tell you that I get long-winded, so I apologize for that. We were also asked to talk a little bit about some of the lessons that we learned from 2020. And this visual just came to mind. I think the first thing we had to decide was that we just keep on going. We've got bills to pay, we've got mortgages to pay, we've got our family to support, and so we just had to figure out ways to keep on trucking and push through the difficulties and find ways to overcome.
Another thing that we learned to do, or that we had been doing for a long time, was to establish ourselves as a resource, and we found that it really paid off in this past year. The Who's Your Farmer shirt is one that we made several years ago. It has our logo on the back of it, but building our brand and establishing yourself as the resource for whatever it was came in very handy. We told people no for a lot of things, but we had people that came looking for things that might not have found us. We'd always been selling them, but they found us this year, and we think that we'll get them to come back.
Anybody that got through issues within business had to adapt. We a few of the things that we did to change, we built an online store, and we really kind of threw it together and flew by the seat of our pants and apologized for things that were there that shouldn't have been, and weren't there that should have been. And but everyone was very understanding. We Dennison that's coming up, I know she'll appreciate this. We were buying hanging baskets and rose bushes in July just because people were still coming and looking for things that should have been out of season by then. We made a lot of changes in our fall activities, spread people out on the wagon. We didn't do some of our normal things in the playground, and we added some new things. We use an online ticketing platform to sell tickets for admission for the farm for the fall. And then we've also added a winter market that we're doing this winter to try to keep some of those new customers engaged and keep them coming back. That's the first time we've ever did that. Most important thing is that you just never know what to expect. And this picture, I think, shows that perfectly well. I drove in the front of the farm one day, and yes, that is our orchard. No, that is not our donkey. We don't own a donkey, but there was one laying in the orchard. And about 5 minutes later, I got a text from my neighbor that said, hey, if you see our donkey wandering around, let me know. We'll come get it. So that was kind of typical for our year in 2020.
Another thing we learned to do, again, was something that we've done for a long time, but to use resources. Continually through the year, we were talking with other growers about supplies and how to, what they could get that we maybe couldn't, talking about how to deal with issues that came up, this and that, that you might have to do in a different way this year. We always rely on extension for a lot of things and our community. So that was important in the last year.
The last lesson is one that we've heard several times this week, and I think anytime that you hear about marketing, you're going to get this one, and that's tell your story. We tried to be honest with people about what we were doing and why we were doing it, about the changes that we made. And we were sitting here with 6 greenhouses full of flowers when things really started to come apart, and we didn't know whether we'd be able to open, whether folks would be able to come see us, what we were going to have to do. But we knew that we had product to sell, and we felt like there was going to be demand. I think that probably we all underestimated the demand in the early times, but we made some changes. We cut out things that we mentioned, but most important was telling that story. We had an employee that tested positive, and we made a post immediately about it on social media. And I can't tell you how many positive comments we got because of that, just being honest and being transparent. And so I think it's always important that you're honest and truthful and transparent about what you're doing. And that's it. Sorry we went a little bit long.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeremy and Joanna. And I think we've stimulated a lot of questions already. Sharon and I are excited about getting to the question and answer section of our panel. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce our next panelist so we can keep things moving. We're happy to have Miss Rhonda Cornett on the call with us tonight. She's from Cornett Farm Fresh. And they're down in London, Kentucky, our Eastern Kentucky component of tonight's panel. And Rhonda, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and we can get you going. Thank you for participating this evening.
All right, let me see if I can get this going here. Okay, so my name is Rhonda Cornett. I'm in London, Kentucky, and this is my family here. We run the small farm retail store. We kind of have a little bit of a unique story. Our background was very much diverse. My husband and I have always farmed. We both grew up on dairy and tobacco farms. And so when we got married and we always grew tobacco started fizzling out on us. Wasn't as profitable. We always had cattle. Our 2 kids, Jared and Miranda, are big into show pigs. So we've always had some hogs on the farm. Then we went into the hemp industry like a lot of people did. And for about 3 years, it was a really good opportunity for us. The 4th year, once the farm bill was passed, there was a ton of other people started growing hemp, and the profitability just fell off to nothing. At the time, Brent and I were both working for a hemp company, working with their farmers and farmers groups. COVID hit, the combination of hemp not doing as well, and then the company not doing as well, they went bankrupt, and Brent and I were both left without our public jobs, which we were greatly dependent on. Saying that didn't mean that we weren't farming full time as well. We just didn't sleep very much. We were farming pretty heavy still at the time when in March, when all this transpired, we actually had already had our tomatoes in our greenhouse. We had peppers and cucumbers in our greenhouse. So we already had, some produce out, but we knew we weren't raising hemp anymore. We still had our cattle and our hogs and just a small bit of produce, and we were kind of like, okay, now what? So we have about 40,000 square foot of greenhouse space that we've always used either for tobacco or hemp plants or vegetables. So we converted all of our greenhouse space into vegetable production. So we've got a half-acre greenhouse that has pretty much nothing but tomatoes and a few cucumbers in it. We had a couple other greenhouses that had picklers and things like that growing them. And so we just kept expanding. We got into that pretty cheaply. What we did was go and find older tobacco farmers who weren't growing tobacco anymore, purchased their greenhouses, took them down, put them back up. It was a pretty low input cost. One thing I'll say is Brett and I always try to use what we have on the farm, rig it up however we can to kind of make it work. Take junk and try and make something out of it. I think like every other farmer does. We also have about 35,000 square foot of high tunnel space outside. And what we did there was we took our old tobacco scaffolds and we converted those into vegetable high tunnels, which puts it a little bit ahead of the market without having to put a whole lot of money into heating a greenhouse. So around the end of April, we thought, well, we've got tomatoes ready, we've got cucumbers ready. Let's see if we can sell this to the public, because everybody kind of knew, you know, that the food source was, people didn't want to go to Kroger, people didn't want to go to Walmart and all those big places for fear of crowds. So we actually just started in the corner of our packing shed, and we sectioned off a little corner, set up just a little retail section, started selling that. We worked with some other farmers. Wilson Cedar Point was another one over in Pulaski County. They had strawberries, we didn't. So we partnered with them and sold a lot of strawberries, which was a super good, you know, crowd bring, you know, it brought the crowd out to us. So when the crowd started coming out for strawberries, they started buying more tomatoes, they started buying more cucumbers and things like that. So we got, we started building that customer base, and everybody was like, oh, we never knew you all were here. It was really good because, you know, our guys and my kids and my husband, everybody was out in the field and they could see what was going on. Kids who'd never seen tractors before, saw tractors rolling around. So in the month of April and May, we had about 1,000 customers, customer sales at the farm. And so we thought we were just, you know, lighting the world on fire because, you know, at this point we'd never done retail. The tomatoes and things we'd done in the past had always been for a wholesale market. We'd sold some to Walmart and other things, but we'd never dipped our toe in the retail stuff until 2020. We started hearing from our customers. We're about 7 miles off of the Hal Rogers Parkway, and it's a little curvy road, and everybody was like, oh, if you weren't so far out, we'd love to do more business with you. So my husband was like, what do you think about opening a store in town? My first thought was, no, I don't want to be off the farm that much. I've done that. I just want to, you know, be here. But after we kind of heard it several times, we thought we need to find a place in town, because you've heard location, 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 and it truly made a huge, huge difference for us. So we rented, we heard of this lawnmower shop that was going out of business that was fairly close to our farm. We rented it, they moved out. We literally flipped it from a lawnmower shop to a produce, you know, farm market store in about 5 to 6 days. So it was a lot of work, but it got the community talking. People got really, really excited. We started promoting things on Facebook, you know, this is going to open. I talked to a lot of other farmers, you know, people like Jeremy Hinton, Mulberry Orchard, a lot of these other folks that are great friends of ours that live across the state, you know, provided us great resources to ask questions, you know, suppliers for things. I used KDA's website and got on and started looking up all the Kentucky Proud products that I thought our customer base might want. So we started picking our own tomatoes. The picture there, we're added flowers for 2021. So that's just a picture of our ferns there. But utilize your farm friends. We partnered with a lot of different folks for products that we didn't have. traded back and forth. They didn't have tomatoes early and we needed strawberries, or they had apples and peaches, or knew where to get apples and peaches because everybody had trouble this spring with that late freeze. We partnered with Wildcat Mountain Cheese to get a cheese that's a local dairy in our county. We had ice cream from Bernelli's, we had local bakeries, we had coffee, just a variety of different things that we started getting information about just through those websites and resources that are there, that are free for you, that don't cost you a penny. So get out there and really do your research on what you want to have in your store or at your market or at your farmer's market table. This is just a picture of the farm. We also do plasticulture. If you see in the background, you can see that barn in the back that's got the white sign on it. That's where we started. Our little yellow sign says no more than 4 people due to COVID and all that stuff. It was a blessing. I mean, we literally had people lined out the driveways, and we never in our wildest dreams would have thought that would happen. But in this case, it's strange to say COVID can be a blessing in some ways. As bad and horrible it is for the health of people, it did cause people to look local for things instead of looking at this big, huge market of Walmarts and large box stores. They really thought, hey, it'd be safer or better for me to get it local. So we, even in the fall, started branching into pumpkins and gourds and all those kind of things. You see our kids on there, they're very active on the farm through all this. It's been great for us as a family because they've had the opportunity to see that, in tobacco and hemp, they weren't super excited about coming back to the farm. In this segment, in these enterprises, they're really seeing that there's a future to come back to the farm on the production side and in the store side. Our son, is interested in ag econ, and our daughter's more interested in the horticulture side. So it's really given us a place to grow, include all of our family, and hopefully make a place to eventually support 3 families off our farm. So this is actually our store. We're open. We usually start about the last week or so of April is the plan, and we'll go till around Halloween. We stayed open till almost Thanksgiving, and for us, we found that was just not worth our time to stay open at that point because the customers slowed down so dramatically at that point because things like school started, everything slowed down for us. So piece of advice is, kind of poll your customers and talk to them and see what products they want. And if those things aren't available, then, think about reducing your hours, which we did that helped. But for us, around Halloween is going to be about the time for us to close up shop. In the future, we are planning on adding a commercial kitchen. I know Jeremy talked about that. There's just so much you can do, whether it's taking that cantaloupe that's got one bad spot in it, but the rest of the melons are great, making it a value-added product by going ahead and peeling and cutting that melon, cubing it, sticking it in a cooler and selling it. Making fresh made salads, vegetable trays that are ready to go. Whatever the case is, there's so much stuff that could be truly a waste product. So the investment in a commercial kitchen, and I know it's probably different in different states, and I know there's several states on here, but in Kentucky, the requirements aren't massive for a commercial kitchen. So that's something that we're looking into and we're working towards. I would say educate your consumer a ton. People don't know when things are in season. I had somebody the first week in November come in and ask me for green beans. And I said, ma'am, green beans have been over for a while. They're not in season. And she said, oh, I should have come last week. And we all kind of laughed because they just don't know. And people are so far removed from the farm that that's an issue. You do have to educate your consumers. A lot of people are fortunate enough to be able to do it right on their farm. I'm a former ag teacher, so for me, I just have to do it at the store. You can see we've got baked goods, ice cream. We raise our own beef and pork, and then we added We supplement with other farmers from the county. We also purchase poultry from a guy the next county over. We do, different Kentucky Proud products like Weisenberger Mills, Kentucky Mountain Coffee. You see Eckert's apple cider. We don't have an apple orchard. They in Kentucky, everybody had a flop of an apple or peach crop pretty much, but they have apple orchards in other states, so we partner with them. Don't be afraid to ask for help, to reach out to your fellow farmers, because they are such a wealth, and most of them are far away from you, or at least far enough that you're not truly competitors with one another. So it doesn't hurt to help each other. It's just the right thing to pitch in and help one another. Some great resources that have really, really helped me this year. K-Card has been invaluable to me, and I know there, several of these are part of this that I'm going to talk about, are part of this whole summit. But getting your business plan set up, helping you apply for some grants, coming out and looking at your store setup and giving you suggestions on, hey, why don't you sit this here? It'll help the flow of your store better. There's people that even, if you're wanting to expand your wholesale markets, that you can talk to them and they have contacts and will help you. They've hired people to do this to help you. They're free. Use them. Small Business Administration is a huge one that's helped me, from setting up an LLC to getting DUNS numbers and SAMS numbers so you can apply for federal grant money. Small business, they have tons of webinars about how to get yourself seen on Google, how to get your name to come up first. There's just tons and tons of things that they do that is just so valuable, and it's all free services. It's usually connected with whatever university is close to you. As far as in Kentucky it is. So I work with Rodney Cool at UK, and he's been a great help. Chamber of Commerce is a great resource. It's good advertisement. They'll come out, they'll do ribbon cuttings, you join up, you get, your picture in the paper. It's just free publicity that if you don't use, you're missing an opportunity, because those things are there and they're cheap and they're easy and it gets you seen in your community. Another piece of advice is get certified. If you're doing any kind of produce, get GAP certified. We do a third-party GAP assessment. We started out doing it because we sold to a produce auction. Then from that, we got a contract with Walmart. Walmart's a bit more expensive because it is, much bigger, but it's not that much harder really than the basic GAP is. But when you can look at your consumer and say, we have a third-party inspector that comes in to make sure we're doing this right. What you're getting is safe, what you're getting is clean, we've handled it right. It again reassures your consumer are more likely to come back to you. Having that Kentucky Farm Bureau certified farm market sign hanging outside your building. People know who Farm Bureau is. Go through friends, callers, see about getting yourself certified if you have a farm market. It's a very minimal fee to get that done. And again, people recognize Farm Bureau, they're comfortable with it. They, identify that that's a good thing. Go ahead and get DUNS and SAMS numbers set up. Again, those are the ones that help you to be able to apply for grants and all that good stuff. It does take a little time, so get on that once you get established, and go ahead and apply those so you can start building your business history. The things I would say, I guess it's 6, I couldn't limit it to 5, but be able to pivot in your business. I'm telling you, we were in a real bad spot in March about not knowing where we were headed. And one thing about Brent and I is that if it's not working, we're not afraid to change, and we're not afraid to try something new. And sometimes you got to throw the Hail Mary and turn around and try something different. If you'd asked me in January, if we were going to be having a farm store, I would have told you that you were absolutely insane. But we did, and it's worked out better than we ever could have dreamed. Utilize your contacts. People want to help you. People want to see good people succeed. I think most farmers tend to be pretty good salt of the earth kind of people. Your customers want you to succeed. Your friends, your family, your fellow farmers, the people that you're, going to ball games with your kids, they want you to succeed. Utilize those contacts just to spread the word about who you are or to get information that you need. Our extension agent, the family and consumer science lady, she saw that we had tomatoes and we had strawberries early. So she comes out with recipes for me. She starts printing off all the publications on canning. And so every time I sold a thing of jars, I could hand them a publication on how to, properly can. So nobody died of botulism instead of COVID. So that was the one thing we had a bet was what was gonna be worse, COVID or the botulism, with all the people canning that had never canned this year. Seek out those free programs, whether it's K-Card, whether it's small business, whatever it is. There's your extension office. There's tons of free programs for you to use that those people are experts in their field. I mean, you will not find a better group of people who are excellent at what they do, and they are sitting there dying to help you, most of them. So use those folks, and then give them a shout back when they, need somebody to say, hey, I helped this business. Be willing to go and sit in their meeting and talk about what they've done for you. Get those certifications. To you, it might seem like a waste of time to put in that time to do whatever little small certification it might be, but it makes you more reputable in the eyes of your consumers. And then, I noticed almost everybody said, tell your story. When the freeze hit, we had about 6 acres of vegetables on plastic already out in the field. And we were out there at all hours of the night, covering tomatoes, recovering. It was sloppy, it was wet, it was nasty. I posted some pictures of us on Facebook out there covering stuff up, and I think we were on every prayer list in Laurel County and the surrounding areas because people were invested in our crop. They were worried about us. They were worried about our livelihood, and they knew come spring that when those tomatoes were out there, they knew what we had to go through to get that crop to them. It helps. And then on the marketing side, can't say enough for social media. You have to get on there. I know some of you are reluctant when it comes to social media, but it is so worth your time. If you're not good at it, hire a teenager. Hire somebody who likes to do those things, who's always taking pictures and on their phone. Tell them what you want to put on there. Let them do it. Just make a note. This is what I want put on there. Fix it for me. Pay that kid $50 to take care of your social media posts for you, every couple of weeks or whatever. And I'm sure they'd be thrilled to do it. One thing that I think really separated us from our local competition, we did a ton of radio advertisements. We did 3 different radio ads, and we had a friend who did a jingle for us. And I should have put a link and let you listen to it, but it's super catchy and it's super country and super cute. And people come in the store singing it. Their kids, they're sending us videos of their kids singing the Corn It Farm Fresh song. And it really got people in the door. Whether they loved or hated the song, they were singing it. Websites, if you have a website, use it as best as you can. We used our website early for kind of like a Kroger click list. We did some remote, my sisters live in other cities in the state. And so they take up their orders, come visit me and take back orders once a week to other parts of the state that didn't have things going on. Now, I will say when other parts of the state have got other stuff going on and other farmers are having their stuff in, be a good neighbor and stop, don't tread on their territory there. Have business cards everywhere. Hand those puppies out as quickly as you can to whoever will take one, who will pass them out for you. There's just getting your name out is so important. This year we've learned tons. We've got tons more to learn. I'm like all the rest of y'all that are writing down everything. I took 6 or 8 pages of notes over the last couple nights and really got a lot to jump in there and start looking at. But, use your resources, and everybody, hopefully 2021 is a fantastic year for you guys. But if I can help any of you, I think my email should be around here somewhere. So just reach out to me. Be glad to help. Thanks.
Thank you, Rhonda, and wonderful ideas and suggestions for our participants tonight. And we'll get to all those wonderful questions that you all have been sharing. But without further ado, we're going to jump to our next panelist because we're getting a little behind schedule. Not that we haven't had great discussion, but Jim Gillis is going to share with us from Hillview Farms Market. And Jim is located in Owensboro, Kentucky. And we're excited to welcome Jim to the panel. And Jim, go ahead and share your screen, if you don't mind. The floor is yours, Jim.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, and looking forward to speaking to everybody about our farm market here in Owensboro, Kentucky. So Hillview Farms Market started in 2013 is when we launched. I'm actually the 5th generation to farm on our farm. We are primarily a seed stock registered Angus cattle operation. We raise about 250 head of cattle. And we sell bulls to other producers across the state. And
hey, Jim, you're
yeah.
a little faint. Is there any way you can get a little closer to your microphone?
Yeah. Is that any better?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
You might just have to talk loud.
All right. So in addition to cattle, we do raise row crops. We raise corn, soybeans. We do still raise some tobacco. We raise air-cured barley and dark tobacco. So the main thing that I'm going to talk about is Hillview Farms Meats. Like I said, was established in 2013. Originally, we started out selling sides of beef. So we would do quarters, halves, and wholes. We still do that today, but back in end of 2012, we had several customers that were buying our sides of beef that still wanted to get our product, but they didn't necessarily want to get a full quarter or half or a whole, whether they were becoming empty nesters or whatever. They still wanted our product, but they just didn't need 100 pounds or so or more in their deep freeze. So that kind of created the opportunity to go to the retail side to still be able to provide those options for those customers. So began with establishing our own label. The labeling process, I think, is a little easier now than whenever I first started back in 2013. Most of the processors that are USDA certified now, the USDA grader can approve most labels now. So back then they could technically do it, but I think it's just become a lot easier. The labeling process back then was quite exhausting. This was our very first label that we had. So had opportunities where we could check off what we were providing in that package. That was one of the things. You have to label what you got in the package. So over the years, things have kind of progressed with our label. Our processor that we work with has kind of changed their labeling system and started working with a different company that would design the labels for their customers that are doing retail meats, and so that it corresponded with their machines that they were using in the processing facility. So this is kind of our second workup. It's a little bit cleaner. In the previous picture, we had to actually add an additional label to all the packages that came in. The safe handling instructions were not on our original label. So we had to go, and whenever we got product in, we had to add a second label to all those cuts. So with this newer label, the safe handling instructions were on it. So that saved a tremendous amount of work for us whenever we were able to not have to go through and handle everything multiple times. Also with our second label, they started putting our USDA grade. In Kentucky, there is a program through Kentucky Department of Agriculture that they have USDA graders that will grade your products for you, so that way you know what kind of quality that you are providing to your customers. This label is our most up-to-date label. The only thing that really changed is we added our social media at the very bottom. Everything that we label, we do put Kentucky Proud, since it is a Kentucky Proud product. The processor has changed a little bit too, so we kind of have to ebb and flow with them. Because of 2020 and the demand the processors have had, we still are getting our products graded. The processor is just not taking the time to basically put our grade on there. We know what the grade is, they tell us, but instead of having to change everything for every customer, they're just omitting it at this time. So hopefully in the next year, we'll be able to start getting that grade put back on there. So whenever we first started, back in 2013, our retail was through the farmers market, the Owensboro Regional Farmers Market. We started out, it was difficult first starting out just because we were the very first meat producer at our farmers market. So we were new kids on the block in multiple ways. It took a lot of not really convincing, but kind of education for the customers, because whenever you show up and you're selling meat out of the back of a trailer at the time in deep freezes, some people think that you're the door-to-door salesman that may see in different areas that has a deep freeze in the back of a pickup truck that's selling meat. So we're not that guy. That was the kind of part of the education too. We're reputable, where we're from, or it's a local product. What makes us different, what makes us better. A lot of education in that first year, but we gained a lot of traction within that first year as well. And this setup is actually 2 summers ago. The farmers market has moved a couple locations, and we've added products throughout the year too, or throughout the years. So this is similar to our current setup. At the farmers market, not so much in or not at all in 2020, but we do samples every once in a while. It is amazing how much product you sell whenever you do samples. In this picture, we were doing flank steaks because it was a fairly new cut that a lot of people weren't familiar with, and we had a lot of them. So we sold all that we brought that day that we did this. Pretty much anything that we sample, we sell a ton of that day. So make sure if you're going to do sampling that you bring those items, or a higher quantity of that item that you're sampling, because you will more than likely sell out or more than a normal Saturday. So our farmers market is 3 days a week. At the beginning, we just participated 1 day a week, which is Saturday. We have kind of expanded to do multiple days, but I'll talk about that a little bit later too. In 2014, I added pork products to our lineup. So from a beef farm, obviously we offered beef first, just because that's what we're most familiar with. It's what people know us for. Through the course of that first year, we had people asking if we could get pork as well. At the time, I couldn't, but in 2014, partnered with a local farm that was raising hogs, so I started purchasing hogs from them and offering pork products. So this is actually just pictures of Boston butts, but we'll do anything from pork chops, sausage products, Boston butts, roasts. Same thing with beef. We'll do any beef cut that you can find at your grocery store, meat counter, and then some. That's one thing that makes us a little unique. in all of our products is that we offer things that you can't normally find at the grocery store or are maybe limited quantities at the grocery store. Also in 2014 was kind of a big year for us in expanding. We started offering milk products in addition to the 2 meat products we were doing at the farmers market. There was no one at our farmers market that was offering, and there still isn't, any dairy products. So we partnered with a farm in Russellville, Kentucky to bring their milk products up. It kind of was a dual purposed reason. Some folks at the farmers market aren't there to buy meat, they're there to buy vegetables, but we still wanted to kind of capitalize on them being there. So instead of a meat product, we found something else. We do raise some vegetables, basically just sweet corn. So we do offer that whenever it's in season, but we wanted something different to try to get those customers to come check us out to begin with. And then 2, hopefully that whenever they came to check us out, we could eventually transition them to purchasing something from us. So it was kind of a dual purpose thing. Also in 2014, we started offering cheese products as well. At the time, this Boone Creek Creamery in Lexington was using the JD Country Milks product to make their cheese. So that was kind of everything kind of had a link to something else to kind of tie everything in together. So in 2016, started the next step would have been chicken. We had a lot of folks asking about chicken products. So in the summer of 2016, we started raising and selling our own Cornish hens. So we do pastured poultry. We have huts to where the chickens will live, and we'll move them around on the pasture daily. And so that got the folks that were looking for chicken products another option. In addition, that year, since we were doing meat birds, we also got layers and started offering eggs as well. So from 2013 up through 2016, the only place you could find us was at the farmers market on Saturdays. We had partnered with a couple other retail locations throughout the time, Orchard and another farm market, and then a CSA location as well. We're offering our meat products, whether it's through the CSA or at their retail locations. Folks were coming out to the farm. We didn't have a location like set aside. We have walk-ins in our shop that are segregated away from our equipment area where we work on our farm equipment. We did have people that would come throughout the year and purchase items there. It just got to the point to where the number of customers that were coming to our shop unannounced, we were trying to schedule people, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But the amount of people that were coming on a scheduled basis and unscheduled basis kind of was to the point where needed to decide whether we were going to, what the next step was. So in December of 2016, we opened our retail location. The retail location is on our farm. It's a little bit different setup. It is actually in an old house that was on the farm. We just repurposed it and now use it as our retail location. And there's a picture. So it throws a lot of people that have never been out there. They drive by and they call and say, "Where are you guys? We're at the farm. We don't see anybody here." We're like, "Well, did you pass the little gray house on the way to the shop? On the other side of the trees, about a quarter mile down the road, is our farm shop." They said, "Yeah, we passed the gray house. Did you see the big sign in front of the gray house?" A lot of people were like, "Oh no, we missed it. We were looking for something else." So, but most people know where it's at now. So, but it is a little different. It's kind of unique. It's kind of a selling point. So for people to kind of look for. So we're open 4 days a week in this location. We're open Wednesday through Saturday. We are closed Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Potentially sometime in the future, we may expand to be open 6 days a week, but that could happen this year, possibly. So, but for the first, since 2016, we've still only been open 4 days a week year round in this location. So one of the things that whenever I opened this retail location is I wanted to have, obviously we have our 3 meat products that we have always provided. We still offer the milk and the cheese, but I wanted to offer locally made or regionally made or Kentucky Proud products. I really don't have a region that I pull from, but I know everybody's really familiar with Kentucky Proud. There's Kentucky Proud producers all across the state. And I wanted to try to support them and bring their products that people may not be familiar with and bring those products to Owensboro. So a lot of the things in our store are Kentucky made or Kentucky Proud products. I do work with several local farms here in Owensboro and Davis County that raise various vegetables. So we have produce when it's in season, fruits when it's in season. It's really the best way for me to describe what our store is everybody that comes in, I tell them it's a hodgepodge of everything because it really is. Primarily, the other stuff, whenever I first started, was there to kind of get people to come in and shop around that may not really be interested in meat, but hopefully would see something else and get them to come out that way. We're not located too far from Owensboro. We're about a 5-minute drive, 5 to 10 minute drive from downtown Owensboro. So we're pretty close to town. So we're not way out far. It's not a super inconvenient drive for anybody, but anything to get people to the store location is kind of what I was thinking. So to this day, we still offer a lot of Kentucky Proud products, a lot of locally produced products, but really most people are coming for the meat. All the other products we do sell well, but the main focus of people coming out is for our meat products. So you can see we've got in some of the other pictures, you can see some of the different products that we carry throughout our store. We do work with local potters. So we've got local pottery, the quilts. We have 3 different folks that do quilts. We've got aprons, tea towels, work with producers that produce mums and pumpkins in our area to provide those as well at our store during the fall. We do make our own pumpkin bread and some fall items during the fall. 2 years ago, we started partnering with a local bakery that was looking for a new location, and they've kind of transitioned to their new location, but we're still working with them. But in their transition period, so that they could still sell their products, but kind of bring their customers out to us potentially. So we have new customers, partnered with them. They do cookies every week, quiches, that's a strawberry pretzel salad. They were doing pimento cheese, chicken salad, wraps, various different things, and bringing it out weekly so that their customers could come pick their items up that they're familiar with at that bakery but couldn't at the time. And it's caught on enough to where now that they've established their new location, they're still going well, but they still bring items out to us, and we still are able to move those products efficiently. We participate in different things. Everybody's probably familiar with the Shop Small Saturday. It's the Saturday after Black Friday. American Express does a really good job with promoting that during that time of year. Our local Chamber of Commerce, which we are members of, does a really good job promoting that as well. So we're a part of that day just to get folks out. We do gift baskets year round. Largest part of the gift basket season is around Christmas. We do meat baskets, dry good baskets, combination meat and dry good baskets. We will shrink wrap the meat if you want us to in a basket, or a lot of people opt for just the insulated tote bag though. But we have actually shrink wrapped more meat this past year than we have ever before. So we do host a few events on our farm. We always have invite schools out for small educational events. We don't have some of the traditional educational events that you see throughout the state. We'll have FFA out. Here there's a local gym that was doing a yoga on the farm, so we brought them out just for a change of pace, change of scenery. It was pretty well attended. We've done that a few times. One of our signature events is we partner with a local farm that raises produce, and we have a farm to table dinner. We've been doing it for 7 years now. We kind of rotate back and forth between farms. This was a couple years ago, and this was our farm to table that was located at our farm location. So it's grown from 25 folks up through the largest we had is about 200. The 200 crowd was awesome, but we decided we lost a lot of our intimacy that made our event really special. So we've pared it down and we try to keep it under 100. But everything that we feature, we work with a local chef. All of the protein is sourced from us. All of the produce is sourced from the partnering farm. So it's a really fun event. People look forward to it. We sell out in about 2 days. At least that's what we did. We did go ahead and have our 2020 event following COVID protocols. So we were really surprised that we sold out as fast as we did. We did have limited numbers, but it was still a awesome event, even though everybody was socially distanced. We have had small events on our farm too. This is for a fundraiser that we did. And they just wanted to have a mini farm to table in the backyard. So that's what, these are the appetizers from that event. So kind of piggybacking on marketing from some of the folks, the previous 2 nights is sharing on our social media, customer testimonials, customer pictures. The first 2 pictures on the left are things that people had tagged us in so that we reshared and it got a lot of traction. The 2 pictures on the right are pictures that customers have sent us of our actual product that they are preparing or have prepared. And so we have shared those 2, and they do get far more views, feedback, everything than if we just make a regular post ourselves. People really do value seeing that what other customers are doing and that we are kind of paying attention to our customers. So these are shots of our actual product. We have worked a couple different times with a professional photographer. Meat is really hard to market. Like at the farmer's market, everybody that's there is doing produce, flowers, baked goods. They can put their stuff out on a table in front of everybody. All of our stuff has to stay in the freezer. So we can't throw it out on the table and hope somebody buys it by the time it thaws out. So I had to get kind of creative whenever we first started on ways to show folks, you know, what we had, what we offer, etc. So beyond our own pictures, I have worked a couple times with the photographer to actually make some really nice photos that we can use on social media and in other marketing that we do. So, and I work a lot with a local chef. So he prepared some dishes for us so that we could get photos of those items as well. COVID-19. So everybody learned a lot. Everybody's kind of talked about pivoting, and pivoting is really important. So this is, we have lines in our store, not extremely very often, but there's basically, in the past year, we've had 5 days where people are standing at our door waiting for us to open. This was back in March, and this doesn't even show half of the people that are in our store. So this is pre-lockdown, when everybody was kind of talking about it. Things were getting kind of scarce at the grocery store. So 90% of the people, or not, excuse me, everyone in that line were repeat customers, longtime customers. The number of new customers we saw within the 2 weeks leading up to kind of lockdown was insane. It was awesome, but really insane and kind of scary at the same time too, because I'm on a schedule with our processors and I can only process so much, and I've only got so much in storage that, you know, how do you limit people? You don't want to tell them no, especially new customers. So kind of working through that part and figuring out, you know, what can I offer so that I don't run out in the next 3 hours of stuff. So, and working with customers, most people really understood why we were doing what we did. You know, at the time, there wasn't a meat shortage across the country. People just wanted to kind of get stock up more or less, because nobody knew what they were going to be able to do. So once the meat shortage kind of occurred, where it was hard to find meat products in grocery stores, that's when things kind of got really dicey in terms of people kind of understood, but not really. So there was a lot of education, you know, no, we're not working with these large packing companies that are supplying the grocery stores. We're working with these smaller packers, and they are being bombarded at the same time too. So we ended up losing a few of our scheduled dates. So that made things really crazy. We ended up just having to run out of stuff. And I became kind of a broken record saying, you know, we're going to get it. We've got dates. They're just not anytime soon. So that was one thing that we had to really work through. Was this was kind of the first time we've ever dealt with shortages ourselves. We've never had an issue with getting dates or having dates canceled at processors for our animals. So it was just kind of a huge learning curve for everybody that we've weathered, our customers have weathered, and which has been really good. One thing we posted out of the gate is on our social medias, you know, at the beginning, we were trying to take all the precautions we could. Having that many people in our store that 2 weeks was kind of nerve-wracking, because we are a pretty, if you saw the pictures, it's a pretty small building. The layout of our store is still set up like a house. All the bedrooms have items in the bedrooms for people to shop around and walk through, but they're small. So so social distancing was already a concern. So we just wanted to try to reassure people that we were doing everything that we could to provide a safe shopping environment for our customers. We did end up going curbside for about 2 months, starting mid-April, going, maybe it was beginning of April. They all kind of blur together at this time. But we ended up doing curbside for about 2 months, which forced us to create an online store. We're still working through our online store. It worked for the time being, and it still is working, but there's a lot of finer details that we're still not happy with, trying to make happen. But that was kind of an eye-opening experience too, creating the online store. Luckily, it wasn't as difficult as starting from scratch. We already had a website. We were already using Square for our POS system in our store. So a lot of things transitioned over. We used the Square online website to do our online sales. There's just some finer details that weren't crazy about and still are, like I said, trying to work through. Curbside, we finally got that down after a week, and most people became really okay with it. We still offer curbside to this day. people can come in now and shop in store. But we still offer curbside for folks that still don't really want to come in, but they still want to get our products. They can either call ahead, order, they can place an order online. Whenever we were full on curbside, we kind of just, that sign that's behind, or that shelf that's behind her, we opened the door and we put multiple items on that shelf, flip that shelf around and stick it outside. And we had boards out front with what we had available. And it pretty much took our farmers market setup and brought it to our store location. So that's kind of one reason the transition wasn't awful. It was just a few more steps than walking to the back of the truck at the farmers market that we were having to walk inside. And 2 people at the farmers market, we can show them different cuts and we can turn around and put it right back. And then when they're shopping in store, they can find what they are specifically looking for. But we were taking stuff out to them and letting them look at, do you like this T-bone better than this T-bone? We wanted them to go home happy for the process that it was. So we still did our farmers market. We still do our farmers market. The farmers market is still a really important part of our business. It was a little different this past year. The setup was a little different, but we made it work, and we had a really good farmers market season overall for us. And I think all the vendors at the farmers market would agree that they had a really good season, despite all the rules and regulations and limitations that everybody had to adhere to. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. The only thing, like everybody else has said, pivot. You have to be able to pivot, whether it's COVID or not COVID. So many things change on a daily basis, whether it's with your meat business or a different business, a value-added product or value-added product. You have to be flexible. The biggest learning curve I think that I had, not really just with COVID, but with this whole experience, was kind of what Rhonda had said was, customer education. It blows your mind. Like she was saying that, somebody comes and asks for vegetables that, were out of season a month and a half ago and they can't figure that out. Same thing with meat products. Folks ask a lot of questions. Facebook is awesome, but Facebook is really bad too, because there's so much wrong information on there, or information that gets shared that's not 100% true, that people believe. So, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do as a producer to kind of let folks know why you do what you do and why your products are safe or anything like that. So just being flexible, that's the main thing for sure. So, but I think that's kind of everything I got.
Thank you so much, Jim. And I really enjoyed your pictures tonight and sharing your market. And I know a lot of people have commented and had specific meat questions for you, Jim. So you might want to look at the chat while we're waiting on our next speaker, because you had several fans there in your, so if you don't mind unsharing your screen, I'm going to pull up our next presenter is going to be Janet Dennison from Mammoth Cave Transplants. And Janet is, can you share your video there? And I'm gonna share my screen here to get Janet's pictures up. Can you all see my panelist folks? Can you see Janet's slides?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you, Cindy. All right, and Janet, you just tell me when you want me to advance your slides for you.
All right. I don't think they're in any special order, so you can just advance them as we go. Can you hear me?
I can, Janet. Go ahead.
All right. I'm Janet, and I'm the owner of Mammoth Cave Transplants. My husband and I started this business, 27 or 28 years ago, growing tobacco plants. We both had jobs off of the farm, and our farm, we have a 100-acre farm, and we grew cattle and tobacco and hay, and we started growing tobacco plants. And then as farmers would come to get their tobacco plants, they would ask about, well, do you have any tomato plants? Do you have any pepper plants? Do you have any cabbage plants? So we would buy them from someone else. And our first market was like 2 concrete blocks and a board, and we had about 15 flats of vegetables sitting on it. And then the next thing we knew, wives would come and say, do you have any flowers? So then my job, I worked for USDA, and they consolidated our office. And so I was offered an early buyout. So I had told my husband if he would build me a small greenhouse and a little cabin, that I thought that would give me a hobby and something to do. So by the time he got that greenhouse built, I already had it full of flowers. And I said, well, I've got to have a couple of your tobacco houses. So that kept on for several years. And we wound up with last year I had 12 greenhouses. This year we've got 13. We're located about 20 to 25 miles from any larger towns. Our county seat, the population is 1,000. So I'm really located out in the country. So I'm really a destination, I guess you could say. I have 10 employees. I have 2 that are full-time, some of them that are nearly full-time, some are just spring. So we have all different sorts. We're open 12 months out of the year. We do not open on Sunday. We've never opened on Sunday, just because we need a day of rest and we need a day with our families and to go to church. We are closed from Christmas Eve for about 2 weeks. And then we're in the shop, in and out all the time until the 1st of February. And then we're there full time. This year, I'd like to say that sales have continued, even in January. Up until last week, we were having sales every day. We were selling shrubs, house plants, all kinds of flowers. Just people coming in to look and buy some of the things that we have. We grow about 90% of everything we sell. Probably when we started the business, we were half wholesale, half retail. Now we're about 70% retail. We grow our own ferns. We grow thousands of hanging baskets. We grow poinsettias. We grow 8,000 to 10,000 poinsettias. All kind of bedding plants. We grow all kind of vegetable plants. Most of our vegetable plants are grown from seed. We seed them ourselves. We grow vegetable plants for retail, wholesale, and then we do a lot of custom growing for several farmers that are in farmers markets. We've already delivered about 300 flats of vegetables so far this year, and we've got about probably another 300 or 400 ready out there. Some of them were supposed to have gone out this week, but with this weather, we just told them we would keep them another week or so. My husband passed away 6 years ago, and the decision was, would I continue or would I just quit? And with my good employees, I have just continued on, and they look out for me. They're wonderful employees, and that's one key to having a good market, is to have good employees. I want everybody that comes to our market to be acknowledged. Our goal is to speak with everybody that pulls up, to let them know that we appreciate them and that we acknowledge that they're there. And we offer a lot of assistance in planting flowers, shrubs, trees. I think people want your knowledge. They want to know what you think. They want somebody that can answer their questions. And I think that's one advantage to having a home market, a farm market, is because most people there are pretty knowledgeable in flowers. And there's times that I just tell people, I don't really think you need to buy that. I think we need to look at something else. I don't think that's going to grow well for you. I think you need to look at something else. And people really appreciate that. One of the things that I'd like to, I've made notes, and then I've scribbled on them so much that I don't know which way which way to start. Our greenhouses, in the spring, we grow about 3 rotations of flowers. We try to time to where one group's gone and we've got another group ready to plant, ready to be ready for marketing. As I think I said, we grow about 90%. We grow about 90% of everything we sell. We do buy trees. We try to grow Kentucky Proud, try to sell Kentucky Proud trees, but there's not enough tree and shrub growers in the state to meet all of that need. So we do buy those things in. I want to say this, in a small area and even in a large area, don't try to do what everybody else does. Make your business unique. What we try to do is we try to grow as many different varieties of flowers as we can grow. I spend hours and hours and hours reading, finding out what the new plants are, visiting the big greenhouses. And when I say that, I'm talking about the growers, the brokers. We go to all kind of garden shows, flower shows. I take my staff with me. They love to see it. They appreciate it, seeing what the new plants are and what we can do with our plants. But one of the things that I would say is, do not try to do what your neighbor does. Try to do something different. For instance, around me, we have Jackson's Orchard, which is a wonderful, wonderful venue. They have a wonderful fall program. I don't want to do that. I'm 20 miles from them. I don't want to compete with them. I want to have something totally different. I want them to they can do their part and I can do my market. So my stress is flowers and growing all of these different kind of flowers. Another thing that we do is we allow people to go into our greenhouses. All the greenhouses except 1 or 2, they can go in. And the only reason they can't go in there is because everything is grown on contract and it's already sold. And we've already found if we let people go into those houses, they'll bring something out. It doesn't matter if it says sold, they'll bring something out. So we don't even allow them to go in there. This spring, we worried. We didn't know what we were going to do because most of our flowers are already started early. And when everything was being closed down, I didn't know if I'd be able to stay open or not. So I can remember telling my employees, I may have to sell the farm to pay this crop off if I can't market it. But it turned out really a good year. This was the best year we've ever had in 27 years. The selling went continuous. It didn't slow down. Someone said even in July, we sold till we just sold out. We did something probably a little different than most of the other markets. Because we do allow people in the greenhouses, we just ask that people stay 6 feet apart. The greenhouses were open. There were either exhaust fans running or the side walls were down. So there was a lot of air movement. People could go into the greenhouses as long as they didn't get close to each other. We asked that only one person come into the shop at a time. We wrote up their flowers. We wrote up what they had bought, the prices, and then they came in and paid. We had lines I can't begin to tell you how long the lines were, but everybody was so patient. Everybody was so patient and so appreciative. I think most people were just really glad to get out, because I know people would say, this makes me feel like normal. This gives me a sense of normalcy. And when everything else is closed down, that we can come to the fresh air and be outside, bring our children, and not worry about being close to anybody. I would want to say that there again, I said, make your market unique. Do something a little different than everybody else. Everybody can't have a flower greenhouse operation. Everybody can't sell their own meat like the gentleman before me. Everybody can't have an orchard. So try to do something different. And one of the things that I'd like to say about starting your own market is be passionate. You better be passionate about what you're doing, because when you start your own business, it consumes your life. To make it successful, you really have to work at it, especially in the beginning. One of the things we do is we volunteer in the community. We participate with schools. We do help them plant gardens and things like that. We advertise extensively. We advertise on the radio. A lot of that is through the Kentucky Proud Advertising Marketing Grant. That's been wonderful to help me, because I'm so far in the country that I have to advertise. I really had to advertise early on to get people here. The Farm Bureau Roadside Market Program is a wonderful program. If you've not ever heard of it, if you're thinking about having a market, you need to see if you can participate in this roadside market program. They have a trip each year, a tour each year. Hey, that's wonderful. If you're going to start your own market, is to go to all the different markets that are on these tours and see what they're doing, because there's so many great ideas on what you can do with your farm. So that's about what I want to say. I appreciate being able to be on here and talk with you all. I welcome you to come and visit me anytime. I will say in the spring, I probably won't sit down and talk to you very long, because it's like you prepare your lesson plan. I prepare a lesson plan every night for them to do the next day. So sometimes my time is really cut short, but I'd welcome talking with you, helping you any way I could get your market up and going. It's been scattered, but this is basically what I'd like to say. And I noticed one of the ladies said, she talked about social media. Social media is wonderful to us. We get a lot of feedback. We have a lot of people follow us. We have decided, we have learned that we show what we're doing every day. We'll say, oh, right, today we're going to do this. We're just filling pots today. And people love to see what you're doing at your market and how you're coming up with your plants. We'll show the seeding and then what it'll look like in 2 weeks. And then we'll just go on to finish. So that's been really good. I have a lady that I hire to do my social media, because she's so much better at it. And I don't have time to do it, but she makes really interesting posts. So it's been great for us. But there again, any way that I could help anybody, I would be glad to do it. Thank you very much for asking me to participate in this program.
Thank you, Janet. And I think Janet gave us some good things to get started with in our Q&A here. And one of the things that I love about working with our farm market members across the state, and I know Sharon will echo this comments, how gracious they are to help others. our young markets, our people just getting started. And Janet's a perfect example of someone that has mentored several of our market members in our certified farm market program to get started, like the Hardesties and others that, you know, have put in greenhouses. And that's a great thing about getting to know producers around the state and ever in your area, and to get help when you have something. So I'm going to kick things off. I know we're getting a little long on time, but Cindy assures me that we have plenty of time and we can go for as long as our panelists are able to be with us tonight and discuss and answer some questions. But I'm going to kick it off to Sharon to start our panelists discussion. And if our panelists will share their video, and we'll kind of get our discussion kicked off. Sharon?
Hey, Fran, thanks. Gosh, guys, what a great presentation by everybody. You all did a fabulous job showcasing your operation. We're very proud of everything that you all do. And I heard several key times I've heard people say it's teamwork, working together and sharing information, you know, pulling from other producers. And sometimes that's what it takes is working together and trying to get everybody to get along. So, but this is great, but we're going to go on and start with a couple of questions. Janet, I'm going to go on and start with you. We had a couple of late questions that came in. We've got some challenges that's popped up. It's a poll that we've got. So if you all could answer that, what is the biggest challenge for your operation? And mark if they all apply or what. Time management, labor, marketing, insurance, cash flow, state and local regulations, or are you kidding? I don't have any challenges. You all are all going to mark that, right? There's no challenges in farming, none, especially with this winter that we've had. So, but Janet, we'll go on and ask you this question. We've got a couple of questions regarding some vegetable plants. Vegetable plants, are they sold wholesale by trays?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
they are.
And is it too late to start a contract for growing vegetable plugs for home gardens?
No. No, it's not too late. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
No, it's not too late.
Okay, when do you think would be maybe the latest for that? I mean,
Okay, that someone is going to grow for themselves or what?
they said for their home garden.
No, we're just now starting tomatoes right now. And that's going to be really early tomatoes. We'll plant tomatoes on from now until we'll plant seeds from now till the 1st of May for home gardeners.
Okay, great. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Jim, we've got a question for you. Do you offer your meats locally for sale on a website? And do you offer home delivery in Owensboro?
Yes, we do offer the meats for sale on a website. We offer it on our own website. And then we have started working, actually they just launched it yesterday. There's going to be a local or another business in Owensboro is working with several producers that's doing an online kind of market. And so we've partnered with them. So they'll actually deliver our product. We currently do not deliver our product to any individual's homes at this time. So we did think about it back early on with COVID and everything, but decided not to do it. So it's still something we may explore in the future, but it's not something that we are doing directly ourselves.
Thanks, Jim. Jeremy and Joanna, where do you get the boxes for your blackberries?
It depends is the reason we look at each other. Locally, we actually buy them through the produce auction in Hart County that we're closest to. So if you have produce auction in the area, a lot of times they're selling quarts for berries and other things. We also get several things from Rock Packaging. They're really great. We work with a lot of Kentucky growers. And then there's another company called Monte, M-O-N-T-E. that I buy a little bit of stuff from. So it just depends. Pricing is different from different places, but when you are picking strawberries or blackberries and you realize that tomorrow you're going to run out, that local produce auction is a great place to get them.
So do you use honeybees? Joanna,
yes, we do. We actually went, when we first started planting trees, we had a guy that stopped who had several hives and talked to us about putting some here and started that relationship. And he has several hives here on the farm, and then we buy honey from him. So it's been a really good, another good partnership. Like we've heard several of us talk about. He takes care of the bees and sells us honey and takes care of our pollination. It's worked out real well.
Great, great. And do you sell your plant trays wholesale?
No, we don't have any growing capacity to do that. Janet does a great wholesale business, so we'll throw that to her.
Great, thank you. Rhonda, got a question coming your way. What websites were you talking about using for free to research?
Not free to research.
I think about it. They asked, what websites are you talking about using for free to research? I guess maybe where you get your information from or your resources from.
So I always recommend starting with your Department of Agriculture because if they don't know, they know what organization to point you to, such as the Hort Council or a Kentucky Proud Specialist or you know, somebody, if you're in organic, for example, you know, they'll turn you to the people who know how to do certified organic. But what I found is like when I started discussing things with K-Card, they were great to start suggesting, if you want to do this, then you need to talk to this person. I went to a few of their grant writing sessions. They give you tons of information at those. So if you'll just get on those websites, there's just a wealth of information that you can get that will just truly make your life easier.
Okay, and Cindy is dropping websites and information and everything in the chat. So you guys want to make for sure that you check that out and everything too. So Rhonda, what different types of tomatoes do you grow?
So we, right now in our greenhouse, we have Red Deuce, Red Morning, Rocky Top, BHN, the Gold variety, and Carolina Gold. Those are the ones that we typically do in our greenhouse. And then most of those are good for the field as well. And then on Romas, we do the Pony Express. Those for us have been really good producers, and the shelf life of them seems to be really good, the longevity of them. So people really like the fact that they can you know, buy that tomato in a couple of different stages, a couple of different color stages, and it's still going to be a good quality by the time it, you know, if it's not totally ripe. My mom lives 2.5 hours away. So when she comes down, she gets a box of green, a box of orange, and a box of red, and they'll last her a month because we actually run ours through a, you know, a sanitizing wash. And so it kills all the bacteria, put clean produce in a clean box, and you've got something that's pretty shelf stable. So those varieties have been real good winners for us.
And this is probably a question for all of you guys. Do you think that you'll retain a large percent of your 2020 customers now that the big box stores have inventory? Most likely even lower prices, but do you think they'll come back? Seems to think they made a comment that consumers can have short memories. So I know last year, 2020 was such a challenge for you all. And I've got to say, our producers, our folks, or whatever, you guys just knocked it out of the park. We were so proud of you of how every time we would throw a challenge or anything your way, you all would make those challenges. And I mean, you would just, just do a great job. And I mean, we would hear so many great compliments. So do you all think that you're going to be able to retain those new customers, maybe that you've got through 2020?
So I would say personally, we have already heard so much from our 2020 customers asking, when are you going to be back open? And again, it goes back to keeping them engaged in your kind of off season and letting them know what's upcoming, keeping them excited, posting pictures of what you're doing in, your greenhouse, or, I think it was Jeremy that had some pictures of ice on the trees, and talking about, just different things like that keeps you in their mind. And then the other thing I saw, we had so many people who'd never had a true garden tomato, had only ever just shopped at Kroger and those kind of things. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does, it's just a faster turnaround. So it's a little bit fresher produce that you're getting obviously on the farm. And they were just amazed at the taste difference. So I think building those relationships and knowing their farmers and keeping them engaged will help with your customer retention.
Joanna?
I'll echo that at the end. We felt like we spent most of the year trying to establish relationships with our new customers. We're hearing feedback. Do I think that every single person that relied on us last year will be back? Probably not. But you hope that even if they don't all come back, that you keep enough of a percentage. And we've had to plan that way. We are starting in the greenhouse, just like Janet, we're beginning to plan for what we're going to plant. And so we are moving forward, that we might not retain everything, but that we're going to do our best to do there and grow some areas that maybe we didn't get to do last year.
Janet?
Yes, I definitely think we will have them back. I think that in the flower business, in the flower growing, I think people really love to know what you think about it. They really want the personal touch that they don't get from a box store. And our prices are very comparable to a box store. Some prices are cheaper, some are more expensive, but they're getting a whole lot better quality and a plant that's really been took care of. So, and they're actually seeing the people that grew that plant. So yes, I think we will. I think this year will be a good year. I'll tell you what I tell my people. And Joanna, I can probably tell you the day that you're going to have good sales, because it's like in the spring. I have one young man that helps me all the time, and he was here today, and I said, oh my goodness, it's going to be 50 degrees next week. They're going to come in here next week and think we got flowers ready to plant. They're going to think we got tomato plants ready for them to plant. So what I tell my people is, it's like all over the state, everybody wakes up one morning and God says, go plant. And they all get excited that same day. So yes, I think I will have as good a year. I'm expecting.
Great. Jim, we know meat sales. We know that was a hot item and everything when the grocery stores started running out. So what do you think about the customers that you had last year? Are they going to stick around for this year?
I think they will. Like Joanna said, you're not going to keep everyone that you got back last year. But that's the goal, is that you're trying to. But I think a large majority of the people that found us have still continued to shop with us and will continue to shop with us. Kind of like everybody said, especially Janet, you're getting that connection with the producer and the consumer. You don't get that at the checkout lane when you're at the grocery store. So, and especially this past year, that's what everybody's really wanted, was that connection that we've kind of been starved for. So, so I think that's only going to continue because that relationship has been built. People trust you now. And it's kind of snowball from there. So I do think we'll continue to keep a lot of those customers. And that one good thing about all those new customers is they've all got friends that they're telling you about too. So, if you lose a few, hopefully they're going to tell their friend, and their friend's going to take the place of that one that you lost. So.
Great. Janet, are the flowers done for transport plants? Try this again. Are the flowers done for transplants for only bedding plants? And do you have any cut flower options?
Okay. Now, tell me the question again.
Are the flowers done for transplants for only bedding plants? the transplants that you do for flowers, are they for only bedding plants, or do you have any cut flower options?
I don't do cut flowers. I do have a couple of flower growers that sell at farmers market in their own markets that we've probably got 150 plants, flats, 50 and 72 cell flats seeded that people are growing for cut flowers. Those are their seed. We just start the plants for them. So we do start plants from the producer's own seed. We don't one flat at a time. Somebody just can't come in here and say, hey, would you start me a flat of petunias? No, we don't do that. But for people that are selling commercially, we do start flowers. But I don't have anything I don't grow much that I think would make a good cut flower unless it's a custom grown crop.
Jim, I think this question was for you. What sorts of cover crops do you plant? And do you get any type of possibly cost share or any kind of funding that helps you with those cover crops?
Did you say Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, we plant a few cover crops. We do tillage radishes are kind of the main thing. We use winter wheat for some of our cover crop as well. Those are kind of the two main ones. We're on our operation, it's just me and my dad. We do have some H2A labor that helps us in the tobacco. And then I have some employees that help at our store, but strictly on the farm, it's pretty much just me and my dad. So whenever we're needing to be planting cover crops, we're normally harvesting. So we don't get to really do a whole lot of cover crops like we'd really like to. But those are the two that we do. As far as cost share, yeah, there's a lot of great cost share opportunities in Kentucky. And I have been able to take advantage of a few of those opportunities to be able to pay for equipment in our store or things we use at the farmer's market or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Okay.
I'd just punch in there too. If you're interested in the soil health, and there's even some cost share money involved in it too, you can reach out to your soil conservation district, and they are great for offering suggestions based on the land that you've got and where you fall on a soil map and what will work best for you. But again, that's another free resource that's there to help you guys out.
Thank you. Jeremy and Joanna, and then also Rhonda, throughout all seasons, what would you say is the primary vegetable consumed?
Tomatoes, number one.
And number two.
Yeah, and number two.
Tomatoes and then watermelon.
Yeah, and sweet corn for us is
Yes.
big.
After that, it's diluted. We do a lot of squash, zucchini, and cucumbers, but they're up and down, and people like squash. My rule is people only eat one yellow vegetable at a time, and that sounds stupid, but they'll eat squash when squash starts, then they eat sweet corn, and then they get tired of sweet corn and they switch back to squash. And so that's kind of the way we plan for it.
Yeah, for us, it is definitely tomatoes. Watermelon, sweet corn are also very close in there. This year, we're hoping strawberries will be up there since we're growing so many strawberries, and those are always good sellers. But what we found with tomatoes is in almost every single purchase, there's at least one tomato in there. So they maybe didn't come to buy a tomato, but they're going to buy a tomato when they're there.
That's absolutely. I would agree with that completely.
Okay, and Jeremy, I think you all were talking about the orchard. We've got someone that is looking to have a mini dwarf orchard, 5 trees, but still not really for sure. They like firm apples. So which ones would you recommend?
We were just kind of talking offline about that. Gala would be a good one earlier in the season. And I think about Fuji. Cameo is probably my favorite apple. That's another good, crisp, juicy apple. Granny Smith's a good one. Of course, that's more tart. Wine sap is another older variety that we grow. That's a good solid apple.
Do not try to grow Honeycrisp.
No.
They were not made for our climate, and they don't like humid summers. They would like the weather that we have right now, cold, but they do not like humidity. And so it's really always an uphill battle with Honeycrisp.
Even though we love them. But.
We like to eat them, but we buy them.
Okay, let me look. I also got a question, not really for sure how you want to answer this, but I think a couple of you all said that you had a commercial kitchen. How much did you invest in your commercial kitchen? I know they can range, and so if you want to give kind of just a beginning.
Yeah, you know, we took a pretty economical approach with ours, and we started out with 2 residential grade stoves. We've added a double oven since then just to kind of increase capacity. The 3-compartment sink is going to be your main thing that the health department's going to be concerned about. You absolutely have to have that in a hand washing sink. You can get sticker shock on those, but you can watch auctions or even Facebook Marketplace, that kind of thing now, and catch things that are used that are still perfectly functional. I mean, stainless steel is not gonna hurt, and so that's what we did. Our 3-compartment sink came from a restaurant auction that was going out of business. We're in the process of doing an addition to our kitchen now, and are investing a little more in it, putting in a hood, and upgrading some things, and spending a little more money. But really, you can get by pretty affordably. It doesn't have to be expensive commercial grade ovens or stoves and that kind of thing. You can get by with a lot of residential grade stuff. And just like I said, the main thing is that 3-compartment sink and the hand sink and the mop sink.
The one thing we didn't do initially that we are adding in now is a fryer. And so that requires a hood, which is a much bigger commercial type investment. But when we started out with those residential ovens, they have a stovetop and they have a hood just like the one that you have in your house. Our health department lady was very good about working with us. And so having a dialogue with those people as you begin is important, because you sure don't want to have to go back and tear out something you've already done. But we found them very easy to work with, and were cooperative with what we wanted to do.
Yeah, even in the conversation about septic and those kind of things, we did put a grease trap in, and they insisted on that at the time. We didn't really think it was necessary, but you know, at this point, we're glad it's there, and we don't have to go back and try to add that into our system later. So I agree with what you said. Just make sure you have those conversations up front, and get your health inspector out and let them look at what you've got and what you're thinking about, and talk through things with them.
Great. That was one of the points that I was going to make too. I know that we've had a couple of producers that started their commercial kitchen and they had to go back and kind of backtrack. And so it was even a little bit more of an expense. So like you said, work directly with your health department first. Get with them even at the very beginning in the first planning stages, and talk to them and see if you can find out what is needed, what's required. So that way it's not going to cost you any additional fee. So also for the Hittens, charge for festivals. What kind of charge do you do for your festivals, and how much?
We went up, so our festivals really are not any more charged than what everyday admission is. We do have an admission throughout the fall season. We decided very early on that when you charge for something, that it gives it value. And so if you're giving stuff away, then people perceive it as not as valuable as something that they might invest in and pay for. Many of our friends in the agritourism business would say that we're on the low end of admissions, but this year we went up a little bit. We're at $7 per person for admission this year for the fall. That's an all-inclusive ticket at our place. Some people take the approach of having charging individually for things, but we just decided that we wanted to take money from people one time and let them enjoy the rest of their day. And then if they decided to buy something to eat or something in the store, that would be extra. So we do kids 2 and under are free. Everybody 3 and up pays the admission. And sometimes you get a little flack about, well, I'm just with my kid, I'm not playing. But you pay if you take your kids to the movies, you pay if you take your kids to the zoo. And so everybody pays here. And we have not ever like chased people down to make sure that they're accompanying their kids past the fence, but we do try to prevent that as well.
We did, real quick, we did do, I think I mentioned it, we did the online ticketing last year. And that, the company that we actually used Ticket Spice. And they charged a fee, but we passed that on, and we're upfront about that. And Sharon, if you'll give me the liberty, I'll put my Horticulture Council hat on. The Horticulture Council is working through and going to have a program this year where if you sign up with Ticket Spice and mention the Horticulture Council, then we're actually going to get 9 cents of. So Ticket Spice charges 99 cents per ticket, and then they're going to give 9 cents of that back to the Horticulture Council. And so that'll be money coming back into the state that we'll be able to use to fund projects and put on programs like this one. So I know our board's real excited about that program and looking forward to seeing how that can work. So that's my shameless plug. Anybody that's using Ticket Spice, be sure to try to help us out on the Horticulture Council.
Great. So Jim, you were talking about you had farm to fork dinners. How did you get started in planning for that? Did you have any kind of special liability insurance that you all had to have? How did you come up with that idea?
Our very first one was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We did it in less than a month, put it together and executed it in less than a month. At the time, we really didn't think about any of that kind of stuff. Now we definitely have some kind of, both farms, it's tied within our liability insurance. So we're protected if anybody falls, gets hurt, you just really need to have a conversation with your insurance agent. That way you can kind of tell them what you're doing and they can kind of advise you on what you need, or if you need to add something to your policy to cover you for any of those instances. As far as planning, we kind of change it every year. So we kind of go back to the drawing board every year to kind of keep it fresh that way. So the main thing is it's the focus on the food, the products that we provide, and that the chef that we decide to use prepares. So second thing is, we want it to be a community building event. So, it's one of those things that goes back to relationships. We're trying to build that relationship with those customers. So everything we do, we kind of plan around those 2 things, the food and the relationship aspect.
Great. And Janet, we've got Darlene or whatever looking for sweet potatoes. Do you know where she can find sweet potatoes?
How many?
She doesn't say. She just says, does anyone offer sweet potatoes?
I wonder if she means sweet potato plants or sweet potatoes.
My guess would probably be sweet potatoes.
Oh, you need to ask Joanna. And
we do sell some sweet potatoes through the market. We do not grow them. The farm that we have is a little bit wet ground, and so our rule, if it grows under the ground, we don't grow it. But there are some various growers that you can get sweet potatoes from. Some years they're harder to find than others, but usually that's a late September addition to our market. And we have 2 or 3 people that we hope we can get them from in any year.
Okay. Rhonda, how about you? Do you offer any sweet potatoes?
So we are going to be growing some sweet potatoes this year. We are still working on supplier as far as for the slips. Brent's talked to some people. I couldn't call a name off by any means of who that is, of where he's planning on getting them. But we do plan on having some sweet potatoes in the fall.
So Janet, you said you had sweet potato plants.
Yes, we have sweet potato plants starting from about, last year we sold out in like a week or so and couldn't get any more, but usually around the 1st of May, we try to wait till after danger of frost because they don't like cold weather much. They like hot weather. So we have about 6 or 7 different varieties of sweet potatoes plants available.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have to have Darlene look you guys up. One of the last questions, unless I've missed some questions, one of the last ones we have is, Jim, do you have meat in a local grocery store or restaurants? And if so, do you have a contract with them? And any tips on getting in?
I do work with one small restaurant. It's a chef that I connected with early on. Actually, he does a lot with local producers. So the vegetable farm that I do a lot with was already working with him. So that's how we kind of met. And we do not have a contract. And it's a small restaurant. I don't work with any large restaurants. We're not a large enough producer. So restaurants are kind of a whole nother ball of wax because most of your restaurants want your high-end best cuts, and they want, they don't know how often, every day is different for the restaurant, but they want your high-end cuts because that's what makes them the most money and what they sell the most of. So kind of contracting with them is difficult. So that's why I don't work with any large restaurants, but the small one that I work with, he kind of just lets me know. He knows that I need if he wants something fresh, I need about a week to 2 week notice to get him something. So we've just kind of worked on that relationship. So that way he does buy a lot of our frozen products too. But it's been a good relationship, and he does a lot of cross advertising as well. So he promotes our product and that he's using it. So it's kind of a win-win for sure.
Great. Well, we greatly appreciate you all sticking around and letting us put you on the spot and asking all the questions. So thanks again. And I'm going to turn it back over to Fran.
Thank you, Sharon. I think we've had some wonderful discussion here. I think just kind of one final question for our panelists to wrap things up tonight. We talked about a lot of different things that each of our panelists sell. Could you talk just a little bit about how you've extended your season from maybe when you started off selling just apples or just meat tail cuts or just plants one time a year, and how you've extended your season to have more of a, from just a seasonal market to maybe more of a almost year round or half of the year kind of market? Janet, do you want to start off?
Yes. We grow now from when we started. We have some kind of blooming flowers all year. Like, for instance, for the summer, we have large pots of flowers because what happens is everybody buys flowers in the spring and they don't take care of them. So they're going to have a birthday party or an event and they need large pots of flowers. So through the summer, we don't sell bedding plants or anything like that. We put everything in large pots, and then that way they can come and buy a pot and it's ready to just sit on their porch or on their deck. So we do that. And then in the winter, we have poinsettias for Christmas. But then right now, the big seller is succulents and houseplants. So that's a big thing right now is because everybody's stuck inside. So they want that. So that's one of the things we do.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. Rhonda?
So for us, the big thing that has extended for us is the greenhouses and our high tunnels. We will have ripe, vine ripened tomatoes in by the middle of April. So that allows us to start back up and kind of get people excited and hooked before a lot of other places have tomatoes and things ready to go. We've also added in just a few other, plants you don't need a ton of squash, but if you got a few squash plants to go along with the tomato, obviously that works out good too. And then on the flip side, we also put a fall crop in. So we've got vine ripened fresh through about Thanksgiving. So that has really helped us extend the season.
Awesome. Thank you, Rhonda. Jeremy and Joanna.
I was trying to figure out how to answer this. Expanding our season has mostly consisted of wearing me down over the years. So when we first started and we were in the orchard business, we sold peaches in the summertime, and people would come in and say, hey, do you guys have strawberries? And I said no. And so he started sending people to me and saying, hey, ask her if we go strawberries. And so when we got to a certain point, I got tired of hearing it, then we planted strawberries. We sort of did that on the other end with Christmas. And people would say, do you have Christmas trees? And I'd say no. And then eventually we got worn down. That's how we got married. That's how this business has grown, really. But, and it's true. Sorry, Fran. You got more than you asked for. But when we built this building, we knew that we had to occupy it for much of the year. And so that was our look to expand. And I was still working full time off the farm at that point. And one year we bought a lot of plants from Janet and a few other people, and we were selling tomato plants. And then I wanted to grow some heirloom tomatoes. And so I started those for us. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing this for us, I can do this for other people. And so it's really just been a recognition of what people want and what we're doing anyway that has expanded the way that we've grown. And looking for wholesale opportunities. That's the thing we haven't talked about today, but we've expanded into that with some of the fruits and vegetables over the years.
I think like with lots of other businesses, it's been an evolution for us. I mean, we started here and there's lots of things that have come along. I mean, we had no intention of when we started that the plant business would become almost half of what we do for the year. But I mean, we mentioned that earlier, and that's really grown. And I think it's about just listening to your customers and looking for those opportunities, and try to manage your business and manage your staff and your infrastructure so that you're in a place where when those opportunities come along, you're able to say, yeah, we can do that. We can expand to add this or to do that, and look, just keep your eyes and ears open and look for those opportunities to grow.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jim, wrap us up.
And then wear your wife down until she's willing to do
it. I think the thing that's helped us extend our season is obviously we started at the farmer's market, and our farmer's market is a limited season. It's only open April through October. So opening up our retail location to where we're open year round has helped a whole lot. We do a few events around Christmas. We do a lot of special meat orders for folks that are celebrating, they're having their Christmas parties or whatever. This time of year, January through March, it's we do a lot of different things, just kind of promoting stuff that people can make during the winter months, because nobody wants to really grill a steak especially this past week, nobody wants to get out and grill a steak. So we kind of push a lot of those things that aren't as popular during our summer months. So that's kind of helped. People are really more willing to do a lot of that stuff too this time of year. So those are we do a lot of educational events during the winter actually. So not really this year because of COVID, but we do host a lot of smaller school groups in kind of a more intimate setting. That way we can kind of have more one-on-one interaction with them. So that's something that we do also during the winter months to kind of help extend and keep people coming out.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate all our panelists participating this evening. We've had some wonderful discussion, and we have over 90 people still with us tonight. And I know we're about 45 minutes longer than we had planned on, but I think it's just been excellent networking, discussing, and learning from each other. And that's what farmers are great about, is sharing their ideas and their passion. I think that's one thing in my takeaway tonight is how passionate our panelists are about their businesses and their customers. And so I hope you go away from this evening inspired. Maybe you picked up something new, or hey, I never thought about it. And that was our intentions with this virtual summit. When Cindy approached me a year plus ago about this concept, you know, that was what our idea was, to be a network and an opportunity for people to gather together and to learn from each other. And so I think that that's what we've tried to accomplish in the last 3 nights, and we really appreciate you joining us. I know Cindy has dropped into the chat the survey, just a reminder about that. We will be sending that out post the event, so we strongly encourage you to fill out that survey, and that will help us plan for next year's event. And we all hope that in 2022, we'll be able to join together and have this summit in person. But I think it's been a wonderful kickoff for a virtual event for the first time we've ever had. I think we had over 600 people register for this summit, and we're so blessed that we've had such a good response. We also want to take a moment and thank our planning team, the Kentucky Horticulture Council, Cindy and Bethany and their team, K-Card, Alita Botts has served on our planning team, University of Kentucky, Dr. Tim Woods and his staff, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, Sharon Spencer, and I know we have Nancy Monroe on tonight, my co-host this evening. Sharon, I appreciate you and our relationship. And we also had our friends to the south, the University of Tennessee, and Megan, I see that she's been engaged tonight. She was one of our speakers last night. So if you see these folks, tell them how much we appreciated this. And Kentucky Farm Bureau, obviously, I forgot to mention my own organization. Mr. Haney, I hope you heard that, that I did acknowledge the fact that we are here. But anyway, we really appreciate everyone's participation. It's been a great 3 nights. And if we can do anything to help you moving forward, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we're here for you to help you grow your business. Cindy, any other last final comments?
No, I think that was perfect, Fran.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, everyone have a wonderful evening, and we appreciate you, and God bless.